Okay, briefly summarize your original aim for the project. What did you intend to do?
Well, I intended to make a soul song, a blues song, and then a country blues song too. Was planning to get Hazel to work on it for the vocals, but that didn't end up happening because our schedules just didn't align. Um, yeah.
Cool. You've answered this partly already. Discuss whether you have had to adapt or change your ideas in any way and the reasons for this.
Yeah, well, obviously couldn't get the vocalist on, so ended up doing vocals myself basically. Just had a little bit of auto tune, just kind of perfected it a little bit, but just kind of, yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else that you plan to do that you changed? Is that the main thing?
Not really, no.
Okay. Reflect on your research. What topics did you research, primary and secondary?
Well, I've researched soul, I've listened to loads of soul, mainly the Teskey brothers as modern day soul artists. Researched quite a lot of blues as well. Again, listening to loads of blues like B.B. King and other people like that. Just looking at the origins and, you know, how certain artists have impacted the genre.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Why did you research these topics?
Well, I have a very fond interest in these topics, and I thought it'd be a very good place to start for, you know, making the songs to start this project.
Was there anything you was looking out for, or anything you took note of when listening, researching other artists that you then took into your own music?
I was looking for the similarities between artists, and you know what they all kind of play similarly, and then also what they kind of play differently too, and then try and kind of adapt in between and take some similarities and some originality, but making it my own in a way.
Nice. Okay. How did this research support the development of your ideas?
Well, with soul, it helped me get that sort of authentic sort of soul sounds, but a bit of a modern day sort of sound as well to it. Added a slide guitar, which you hear in some songs and some you won't.
Nice. Okay, reflect on how successfully you approached problem solving. Did you have any problems? Were you able to find any solutions, and how?
Well, obviously, as I already said, one big problem was vocalists not being able to sing. Other problems, written work from home, because I have a broken computer, so it doesn't work with the shift button doesn't work, so no capitals. It's struggling to sign into my email. But I used a digital keyboard. I believe that is it, really. Oh, I did have a snap string actually, which thankfully replaced it.
Okay. Nothing else in like any of the recording, songwriting, any challenges, anything you had to adjust or try something different to get it to work?
I will say the timing actually with my country song. There was the beat. It was just a simple like a kick drum beat, and it just for some reason went too fast. So I had to slow it all down and then play the song a whole lot slower than I wanted it to be.
Okay. What support did you need to successfully find or implement solutions? Were there any particular tutors that were helpful, any students, any online resources, anything like that? Particularly helpful?
Well, Lewis and Pete being very helpful for, you know, Logic especially, because there was quite a couple of technical errors, especially with setting up the microphones, or even sometimes as simple as putting in the headphones and just it being a literal button I need to push, and I've clearly missed it. But Oz with the sort of written work side of things, you know, he's there to answer a lot of questions and has been very helpful.
Cool. Okay. Where you face challenges, were you able to move past these? I think you've answered this mostly. The vocalist being
Yeah.
one of the big ones.
Yeah.
And I guess you moved on by deciding to do it yourself.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
adjusting to that.
Yeah, not much of a singer.
Me neither. Reflect on your planning. Did you have a realistic schedule or plan?
I would like to say I had a realistic schedule, / plan. Only thing, obviously, again, the vocalist went completely off. But most of it was decently correct. Like, it was on time, how I kind of imagined it in a way. But, you know, for quite a while I was absent, so there's a lot of work that was delayed, but the time I was in, it felt like it was progressing fast enough.
Okay. So you don't reckon you set too high or too low of a bar? You reckon you was pretty...
I think, yeah, I was thinking a very middle ground.
Cool.
You know, nothing too high, nothing too low, though.
Did you manage your time effectively throughout the project?
I'm not as keen to say yes on this question, Julie, mainly because my attendance, really, which I've obviously spoken to us about, and it's in the system and everything like that. But yeah, there was a bigger problem with time management, to be honest.
What could you do differently in the future? So thinking about the planning and the early stages of it, anything you'd do differently if you used to do this project again?
Well, before I put time management, I would like to take control of time management, but possibly prepare for the amount of time I might take off, or maybe even work from home a little bit more. And if I have the ability to, hopefully next year I might get a Mac and then get Logic on that, and then I can work on projects at home and then send them over, you know, to make up for the lack of attendance.
Nice. Evaluate your practical submission. What did you present for your practical end product?
What do you mean by that, sorry?
So for you, I believe it'd be the 3 songs then, right?
Yeah.
So did you finish all 3?
No, I haven't. Again, it was time management, so
Okay.
most of them are, you know, 3/4 of the way completed, but they haven't been finished. They need an ending, but most of it is done, and so it's just a very annoying sort of point, to be fair, because I didn't want to obsess on one song so much that I wouldn't get anything done. So I tried doing multiple simultaneously, and then because I wasn't in, I hadn't really had a chance to finish them off, because I had to do written work too.
Mm-hmm. So are they like written, recorded, just need mixing, or is there like a bit more recording to do?
I just need a little bit more recording to do with the endings, really. Nothing drastic. I think I'll put one that could just be mixed, and I think one's finished, but it just needs a bit of mixing and mastering, really.
Okay. What skills did you demonstrate?
I would like to say my guitar solo, and it's gotten better. However, I'm still hitting that mental block of trying to break out the minor pentatonic scale with a blues solo, because it just sounds very robotic and repetitive. But I think that's the biggest sort of thing. I'm not going to say my vocals.
Well, they may be developing or not where you'd like them to be yet, but I think it's still fair if you was to say you demonstrated vocal skills.
Okay,
You did do the vocals.
To be fair, yeah, actually I did spend quite a lot of time trying to sing in key, and then I got one that was in key, and then I did a little bit of editing towards it. Yeah, so yeah, I'll say vocals then as well.
Anything else in the song making process that you did that might be relevant?
What the skills I've demonstrated? Well, bass, I've never really picked up a bass before, so I mainly just played root notes, but kind of bouncing in back and forth in a way. Again, for the soul song, I've done bass. I've done most of the instruments except for drums, which I've done MIDI, and then the trumpets, which I've done MIDI, but everything else I think I've pretty much done myself.
Yeah. Production skills, MIDI programming, multiple instruments,
Yeah.
vocals,
That's
original
a better way
songs.
Yeah.
So you songwriting.
Yeah, that's a better way to put it, to be honest.
There's a lot in Are you pleased with what you produced? Explain why or why not.
I'm leaning to more towards yes, but I feel like that. Well, everyone always feels like there's something more they could add. So don't think I'll ever truly be content with it. But I really like how my blues has developed. If you look at a couple projects ago, it was all over the place. The chord progression was major and the scale was minor. It just didn't really go. But now I've got the backing track down and the guitar down and the sort of the vocal style down too. Attempting Soul as well. I feel like I've done a very good job with the instruments and the instrumental version of it. To be honest, especially for my first time doing it.
Nice. Reflecting on your strengths, what do you feel has gone well during this project?
The speed of the backing tracks, actually. I would like, I think I set up the songs quite quickly. I just had a vision in my mind, playing at home as well, and then I knew what I was going to do as soon as I came into college, so I just got those out of the way and then a little bit on top. I would like to say my written work too, which is a bit more of a iffy one, but I feel like I've done some quite detailed work and yeah, basically.
Okay. What could be improved upon, or what would you have done differently?
Well, if I could help it, time management, that would be a very crucial and beneficial one for me. Possibly getting a different vocalist and, preparing better for that instead of having to do everything by myself. I'd like to get somebody else in who can actually sort of sing and focuses on vocals, really.
Nice. Provide a closing summary. How successful do you feel the project was as a whole? Okay, you've covered this already, but if you want to just briefly summarize it again.
Yeah, it's not horrible. My written work will be, it was almost fully completed. Just the music side, which I would have hoped could have been completed, but, it's not there yet, which is a shame.
Okay. Thinking about the whole of the project and how it's been, what would you want to do next, whether it be personal development or as part of college? What would you like to do to develop your skills, knowledge and understanding going forward?
Oh, for like a career or something?
Just musically and academically.
Oh, okay.
So just overall your skills, knowledge, understanding. Is there particular areas you might have a new interest in, or is there an area you are now realising you want to work more on since the project?
Well, I guess I'm liking blues even more than I did at the start of the project,
Nice.
I loved blues for a while, but now it's getting more and more and more. The one thing I would like to develop is originality in the solos and not have it sound or play the same thing every time, because I've searched up licks on YouTube and riffs and everything like that, but it's just I want to create my own sort of solo bit and everything like that. So yeah.
Nice. Is there anything else you want to add from an earlier point, or anything that's popped up? If not, we are all done.
All done.